Hello, I am Reem, a student at the Department of English Language and Literature at the University of Bahrain. Welcome to our Advanced Grammar series. I will be giving a lesson on simple, compound, complex, and compound-complex sentences. We will start with the simple sentences. A simple sentence is a single independent clause that expresses a complete thought, which means it can stand alone and still make perfect sense. A simple sentence comes in four forms. The first form is a sentence with a subject and a verb. For example, she wrote a book of poetry. She is the subject of the sentence, while wrote is the verb of the sentence. If you face difficulties with identifying the subject or the verb, just ask yourself a question. Who wrote a book of poetry? She wrote a book of poetry. Therefore, she is the subject. What did she do? She wrote a book of poetry. Therefore, wrote is the verb. The second form is a sentence with an object. First of all, we have to know what is an object. An object is a noun or a pronoun that gives meaning to the subject and verb in a sentence. For example, each person feels pain in his own way. Pain here is the object of the sentence. What does each person feel? Pain. The third form is a sentence with an adverb. What is an adverb? An adverb is a word or a phrase that modifies the meaning of a verb or an adjective. Therefore, it usually comes before a verb or an adjective. For example, in the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly colored the sky a mysterious shade. Suddenly here is the adverb in the sentence. Another example, I suddenly feel helpless, completely powerless. Suddenly and completely here are both adverbs. Suddenly modifies the verb feel, while completely modifies the adjective powerless. The fourth form is a sentence with a prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase is made of a preposition and a noun phrase. For example, all of us are imperfect human beings living in an imperfect world. In an imperfect world is the prepositional phrase. In is the preposition, while an imperfect world is the noun phrase. We will move now to the second type of sentences. Compound sentences. Compound sentences is a sentence made of two independent clauses that express a complete thought and are linked by one of the following coordinating conjunctions, which means if you separate the clauses, they will still make perfect sense. These are the coordinating conjunctions. If you find difficulties memorizing them, just think of the word fanboys. For example, the dead will always be dead, but we have to go on living. We have here two independent clauses linked by a coordinating conjunction. If you separate these independent clauses, the dead will always be dead is the first independent clause. The second independent clause is we have to go on living, but is the coordinating conjunction that is linking both these sentences. The same goes to this example. Life is sometimes amazingly fragile, but some lives are frighteningly strong. Here we have two independent clauses linked by a coordinating conjunction like the previous example. Now we will move to the third type of sentences. Complex sentences. A complex sentence is a sentence that starts with a subordinating conjunction and consists of an independent clause linked with one or more dependent clauses. So here we have an independent clause plus at least one or more dependent clauses plus a subordinating conjunction. You have to know here that a dependent clause can stand alone and does not express a complete thought. Also note that coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions are different, and they both must be memorized. These are the subordinating conjunctions. And this is an example. Although my friend is extremely busy, she insisted on teaching me math. Although is the subordinating conjunction, my friend is extremely busy is the dependent clause, she insisted on teaching me math is the independent clause. The last type we will be covering is compound complex sentences. A compound complex sentence consists of two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause joined by both a subordinating conjunction and a coordinating conjunction. For example, I hurried inside the house and I started looking for my umbrella that I have been wanting to use for a while. We have two independent clauses here and both of them make perfect sense and both express complete thoughts. Meanwhile, if you remove the dependent clause from this sentence, the sentence will still make perfect sense. And notice that there are two conjunctions. One is a coordinating conjunction and one is a subordinating conjunction that. Now, if we remove the dependent clause, this is how the sentence will be. I hurried inside the house and I started looking for my umbrella. Thank you for watching and I hope that you learned something useful from this lesson.